Find the domain of the function f of x. Step 1. Start with domain of all real numbers. This is how we write it in interval notation. Step 2. Check the following rules. We have 2 rules to check. Each rule will let us know if we need to restrict the domain. Rule number 1 says no 0 in the denominator. Let's take a look at the denominator of our function. It is 3x minus 6. Since we have variable x in the denominator, we need to check for which value of x is the denominator equal to 0. This means we have to set our denominator to 0. So we have 3x minus 6 is equal to 0. Now all we have to do is solve for x. Let's add 6 to both sides. And now divide by 3. X is equal to 2. This is telling us that when x is equal to 2, we get 0 in the denominator. And therefore, we must eliminate 2 from our domain. Remember, we can't divide by 0. How do we eliminate 2 from our domain? Let's take a look at the real number line. First, we'll start at negative infinity all the way to 2. Parentheses at 2, this means we are not including 2. Union, start at 2 with parentheses at 2 because we are not including 2 all the way to infinity. Now this part here is how we skip a number. So this is telling us our domain is everything except for 2. Now let's take a look at rule number 2. Rule number 2 says no negative under even index root. Let's take a look at some examples of even index root. Now let's take a look at our function and see if it contains an even index root. It does not, which means nothing to eliminate from our domain, and therefore our domain remains everything except for 2. And this is our interval notation.